When I say the word workaholism, many of us can picture in our heads what that means. Whether it was a parent, a family member, a friend, or maybe even yourself, we've all seen it in our own lifetimes. Someone that just can't get away from the job, whether they're on vacation, still answering emails, spending 12, 14 hours at work every day. We all have had some sort of experience with that. My name is Jeremy Bennett, and I myself have struggled with workaholism. Not only that, I grew up with it. My father spent a lot of time at work, especially when I was younger. And I can remember vividly going on these family vacations where he would disappear for an hour, two, three, four, even 5 hours, and he would just be on his computer answering emails, trying to put out fires at work, and he never was fully present during these days. And so it's a topic that's important for me, and something that I feel I'm qualified to share a little bit about. Um, so what we're going to talk about is three separate things. So firstly, I just want to make a distinction about what it is and what it isn't. And then secondly, I'm going to talk about the key characteristics that you can kind of see broadly across the scope. And then thirdly, I want to talk about the driving forces, like subconsciously or internally, some of the driving factors within that person that may lead to these workaholic tendencies. So firstly, that distinction, right? So this distinction is one that's different between workaholism and someone that's a very engaged employee, right? So workaholism is a tendency to have to do that work. It doesn't necessarily bring you joy, but it's something you have to do. Whereas the engaged employee will thoroughly enjoy their job. It's something that they are passionate about, that they show up every single day excited to do. They work those extra hours because it brings them internal joy and it is a passion project for them. And so those are two different things. They may externally look the same, long hours at work, way above and beyond, but the difference being that one of them just can't get away from it and the other person, that's the place they'd rather be. In fact, Schofele quotes as saying, workaholics are being pushed towards their work, whereas engaged workers are being pulled towards it. If that kind of helps sum it up. So the second thing that I want to talk about here are the basic traits, right? And so these basic traits are laid out to us by Clark in their paper, Multidimensional Workaholism Scale. And so the very first one is going to be your inner pressure or your compulsion to work. And so this is your internal pressure that's taking you towards that work, just like we said, right? They're being pushed towards that work. And so it's a compulsion. They don't really have control over it. They can't stop doing it. They can't stop doing it. The second thing is going to be your persistent and uncontrollable thoughts about work. And so this is, you know, you wake up, first thing you're thinking about is that project that's coming due. You're in the shower, you're in a meeting, you're having lunch with your family, you're at church, you're on vacation, whatever the case is, in the back of your mind, you can't stop thinking about the next thing that you need to do for work. The third thing here is going to be some negative emotions when you're being prevented from doing that work or being pulled away from that work. So, say you're out and you want to take a phone call and it's work related and somebody's like, you can't do that. That you're going to have negative emotions when you're being told you can't do your work here. This is a no computers. This is no phones, whatever the case is, right? They're going to have negative emotions when people are actively preventing them from going to do their work regardless of where they are in life. And so that fourth thing is going to be their excessive work above and beyond what is expected of them. So this is, you're scheduled to work 9 hours every day and they're there for 12, 13, 14 hours, right? No one's expecting them to be there. We say 40-hour work week and somehow they always clock in, they've got 60, right? That's that above and beyond the expectations. And these are things that workaholics share. They're traits that are across the board. And so the the driving factors behind this, right, is going to be a research paper that was published by Gomes. And so something that they noticed is that this driving factor is a performance that's based on self-esteem, and is a predisposition or orientation towards your achievement, right? So these are people that have always been overachievers, and for them, their own vision of success and their own value system is pushing them towards that work because they will think less of themselves and they don't understand how to perceive themselves if they're not succeeding at work, even if that work brings them no joy. If they are not pushing themselves above and beyond what is expected, then they feel like they're failing. So it's going to continue this cycle, right? And so, in conclusion, what I want you to take away from this is that there is a difference, right? Workaholism and engaged employees. So if somebody's loving their job and shows up every day, couldn't be happier to be there. Engaged employee. Not what I'm talking about here, right? And those basic traits again, right? That inner pressure. We're talking persistent, uncontrollable thoughts about their job. Their negative emotions when people are preventing them from getting after their work, and the excessive, above and beyond expectation work ethic. Um, and then the driving factors there again are just performance and predisposition or orientation towards achievement, right? Um, and what I hope that you take away from this is your ability to um, understand what these things look like, the factors and the driving forces, so that you can identify workaholism in yourself, in your friends, and your family, and potentially, if it gets too bad, get help. Thank you.